Hi, my name's David Parker, and I've had some incredible experiences throughout my life. I saw a UFO. I've seen spirits. I was a hospice nurse for 17 years. I was a registered nurse for 4 decades. But I wanted to share a story that happened to me when I was just a child. I was raised on a farm in southern Ohio, and probably around 5, 6, 7, I first developed a fungal infection in my lung. And for about a year and a half, I was in and out of the hospital, children's hospital, for extended periods. I actually missed a year of school because I was so sick. Nowadays, with that infection, you'd probably just take a couple pills and you're fine. But this was back in the late 1950s, very early 1960s. I was placed in the children's hospital. I was often in an oxygen tent. Back then, we didn't have the little nasal cannula that put oxygen just directly in your nose. They would surround the whole bed with plastic and fill that tent up with oxygen. I was very sick. Anyway, I had this one experience. Something happened. I don't remember. People were working on me, and I was instantly out of my body. It was like I just got out of the bed, just stood up and walked out of the bed and was walking down the hallway. And I could see doctors and nurses walking along the hallway at this children's hospital. The ceilings were very high in the hallway, and the hallway was very wide. I recall it being an older building. And in the hallway, I could clearly see what looked like a huge ball of people. They looked like pen and ink outlines. And then the inside of the outline was like a milk color, like an off-white, like it was painted solid off-white, but the outside was dark. And the faces, the outline, just like a pen and ink drawing, and the body itself was white. And there must have been, I'm going to say, a couple hundred, looked like adults swirling around in a ball. Their arms and legs and their heads and torsos swirling, unnatural, almost like they didn't have bones. So they could bend and stretch in a way that a human body couldn't stretch. And sometimes the head would come out and it would like pull back, and the mouth would unnaturally open up very, very wide just from being stretched. And arms and legs, there was no gap in between any of these people. It was men and women, they were nude. There was nothing sexual going on. It was just swirling like it was completely out of control, like this. Hundreds of them. And it completely filled the hallway, top of the ceiling down to the floor, and right and left hallway. Completely round, perfectly round ball of people, swirling. They looked miserable. I don't know if they were or not, but just the way their faces would stretch and their hands would stretch, and someone's arm would come up and then a head would come out from underneath their arm and slide around their chest and then disappear underneath someone's leg. It was just constant motion. And I just stood there and I was just staring at it. And I could see doctors walking by and people in wheelchairs getting pushed, going right through them, but they couldn't see them at all. And they couldn't see me either. I don't know what was going on in the room, but there were doctors and nurses working on me, my body in the bed. So I'm standing there and I'm watching this ball of people. It wasn't upsetting. It was just fascinating to watch. And then this little girl came up to me and she says, "Well, let's go play. You can play with me for a while." So we went outside and they had a maypole. I had never seen a maypole before. And I later described it to my mom and she told me what it was. And we went outside and played. And she was dark complected. She had a very thick hair. And her hair was braided and went down her back. She had like a little checkered pinafore on. It was sunny outside. There were other kids playing, but it was just she and I mostly. Just we stayed together and played together. And then after a while, she said, "Well, you can stay here you can play with me a little bit longer, but you can't stay here." And I thought, why not? I'm having a blast. This is fun. So we played a little bit longer. There was like a beach ball type thing. We were doing the maypole thing mostly and running and laughing. And then she stopped and she says, "My name's Penny, and tell my mom I love her." And I thought, well, sure, so I'll do that. And the next thing I know, I'm back in the oxygen tent. I'm surrounded by doctors and nurses and hands kind of grabbing me. And I don't know what had happened. I probably had some serious medical event happen. So, whatever it was, they took care of it. I'm doing fine. And this nurse came in. And she had been taking care of me off and on for multiple visits that I had there. We knew her. But anyway, I just instinctively knew that that was Penny's mother. So when she was coming up and giving me some care, I looked up and I said, "I was playing with Penny. I saw Penny. She told me to tell you that she loved you." And this woman's face just freaked out. That was the last time I saw her. And it was later that my mom told me that she quit. She walked out, and she had lost her daughter, Penny, who was ice skating on a lake, and the ice had cracked, and she had fallen through the lake. I guess it was some time before they found her body. But I'm sorry I freaked her out, but what an incredible opportunity to get to give her daughters a message to the mother. And I hope that over time that, she came to terms with that and realized what a blessing it was. That was my near-death experience. But the thing about the ball of people has stayed with me because years later I became a nurse and I worked in hospitals. I worked in emergency room. I did 17 years of hospice. And 6 more times in my career, I saw the same ball of people. I don't know if they were the same people, but it was the same thing, this outline of adults, like black ink drawings. And, the flesh tone was actually just a bare off-white swirling around, arms and legs and faces and stretching. They looked absolutely miserable, but, again, maybe they weren't. I worked in an AIDS unit for 3 years, and I saw it twice there. I saw it once in one of our hospice inpatient units, and we had a little break room. And it was a small room, like a regular living room size, 10-foot ceilings, and one whole side of the break room was glass, sliding glass door. And it was daytime. I had a friend visiting. So we were sitting there. The sun was coming in. We had a pop machine, sofas, and visitors were kind of walking through. And then they appeared again. And this time the ball was only like 10 feet tall. It was the exact size of the room, perfectly round and swirling around. And I told my friend, "Look, do you see this? Do you see this?" Well, he didn't see anything. And the visitors that were coming through were just walking right through them. Nobody saw it but me. In another hospital where I worked, and it was an old hospital, and that one also had massive ceilings, and it was very wide hallways, at least the section where I was. And I was on my way to a staff meeting. This was day shift also. And I was going down the hallway, about to go into the room for the meeting. There was another ball of people. And that ceiling had to be at least 30 feet tall. Massive, big. An old building. So they kind of built things for aesthetics back then. And they were swirling in and out, arms and legs, rear ends, their faces. The faces just stretching because they were so close to each other and pulling and swirling in and out. It was a perfectly round ball. There had to be 300, 400, 500 of them. I couldn't see the whole side, the other side of it, but it looked totally round. They were solid, but black and just off-white. And I'm standing there. It was pretty much outside the door where I needed to go to the staff meeting. I just couldn't take my eyes off of them. ended up there like 30 minutes, just standing in the hallway staring at him. And my boss would open the door and say, "You're missing the meeting. Come on in, come on in." And I would look at her and point at him. And, she's looking, she didn't see anything. Every now and then someone would come through the hallway and just walk right through them, totally oblivious to what I'm seeing. The swirling and the faces look so miserable. And I would close my eyes just a little bit and try to silence myself and touch in to see if I could get a message from them. And I felt nothing. I didn't feel misery from them. I didn't feel agony. I didn't feel any panic from them. I didn't feel that they needed any help. I have no idea what they were. But now, between my near-death experience as a child and the nursing experiences where I saw them 6 times while I was working, total of 7 times over like 60 years, 65 years. What was it? I don't know. Why did I see them? It's always been in a medical facility. Saw it when I was a patient once and 6 times as a nurse. I didn't recognize any of the faces. Were they patients? I don't know. I don't know what the energy was. I don't know what the beings were. I don't know what their purpose was. I don't know why they were drawn to a medical facility. Did they die there? Was it their energy? I just have questions. I tried finding old drawings, looking through old drawings like Dante Inferno or something like that may have depicted something exactly like this, and I couldn't find anything. I hope they're okay. I hope this was just a temporary experience that they needed to go through. I send them energy and love. I have no answers. If you have any answers, let me know.